video number 3.
The third video that's actually covering the retreat that we'll be doing is we're going to talk about, just give you a small snippet. Snippet. There it is. I couldn't get that word out. Snippet of assumptions and expectations and how they filter in our lives and how they do kind of create conflict sometimes. And then we followed up with honoring yourself first and how that starts. Do you want to jump into assumptions and expectations?
Yeah, I think that is like a huge thing. We touched on it a little bit earlier, possibly, but assumptions and expectations that we have that our partner should know about us. You should know that.
If you love me, you would know I am mad.
You should see that I had a tough day and not expect me to just jump right into life after work or whatever. The assumptions and the expectations, like I expect you to understand what I'm saying. Or you should know that always upsets me when you do that. Or when I say, sure, go ahead, go play golf. You caught that, right? Like, oh gosh. So,
or the expectations of going out to run an errand. But
okay, really, like he wants to go to one store and go back, and like we cannot deviate. If we said we were going for milk, we will not go for bread and milk, or say, oh wait, there's one more thing over here on this other aisle that we want to get. He'd rather go back and forth.
That's actually an extreme.
Okay, possibly, but not much. But not much. General idea, right?
But if we're going to Harris Teeter, right, for groceries, we don't need to go to Marshall's.
But Marshall's is right next door.
See, therein lies the communication that we were talking about earlier.
Right. But, right. There is that type of expectation. There's also a deeper level of expectations.
Yes.
You know, what we expect our relationship to look like, how we support one another in a deeper way, what the roles are in our marriage or in your relationship, how you're going to raise kids, how you're going to spend money. All of those are expectations that need to be looked at and addressed. And, you know, you create knowledge, you create boundaries, and you respect one another when you share really in a communicative way what serves you, what your needs are, what's a win for you and what's a loss for you.
And I think you hit on something really important there. When you come to expectations and assumptions, we are all born and raised by our parents, obviously. But when you have children, you throw that third variable in there, all of a sudden there can be conflict there of expectations that we're going to raise her how I was raised, or we're going to raise Michaela how you were raised. And that expectation and assumption can lead to conflict sometimes.
Right.
There's discussions that need to be had before you get to that spot. And you learn when you do arrive there unexpectedly how to kind of maneuver through those areas.
Right, navigate them. And I'm just thinking about the story of our friend that his parents died when he was young. He was put into the foster care system, and he had issues with feeling unloved. And so he pushed people away before they had the chance to hurt him. And so finally he ended up in a situation where the foster parents recognized that and wrapped him in their love, in unconditional love. And so he was able to finally open up and have a deep connection with them. But anyway, later on in life, when he was married, his wife would maybe get home 15 minutes, 30 minutes later than what he anticipated her to be. And she would come into the house and he would explode And
Yes.
she couldn't figure out like, what is the big deal? And they had this cycle, this pattern of like it always happening. And when they finally discussed, like, I don't know,
It
he didn't
finally
even know
got
it.
to a point where it was very combative and
Well,
essentially,
we don't know that it was very
yeah,
combative, but we do know, really,
yeah,
but we do know it was a problem. And we do know that they were able to resolve it because through curiosity and discussions, he had a fear that she wasn't coming back, that she was in an accident, that something had happened, and
yeah.
he was out of control. And so once they were able to recognize that, their communication changed. She always, thank God for cell phones, right? Like she was able to
Mhm.
say, I'm going to be, you know, a little bit late. I'm held up. Traffic's bad, whatever.
Yeah.
And so again, that's another type of expectation and assumption that we have. So there's a lot of nuance to it. It sounds very surfacey, but there's actually a lot of depth
Well,
to
it
those things.
delves into our belief system a little bit and the conditioning that we've had growing up. What you were speaking of was his particular defense mechanisms of pushing people away.
Right.
I'm aware of that defense mechanism growing up myself. I used arrogance sometimes to push people away because I didn't want them to get close.
Right. Yeah. And I was probably a little bit of an introvert. Like I kept my mouth shut because I was told I talked too much as a kid. So like I was like,
Yeah.
which is probably hard to believe now, but anyway.
So you carry these things forward into your life and until you address them. And there's an internal as well as an external experiencing of life. And some of that introspective stuff will help you to build stronger relationships, not
Right.
only with your partner, but with your friends and business colleagues as well.
Right. And if you remember that life is a classroom, right? Like it is truly,
Yeah.
like we are meant to look at these things that we bump up against, whether they're good or bad, and decide what's the good behind it, right? And it's just a great philosophy of life, good, bad, or who knows?
Yep.
You just don't know. Like in the midst of things like it, you think it's bad, but if you can change the perspective and look at what the blessing is behind it, like woof, that's a game changer. So the last and final thing, do we want to discuss that now or in a different video?
We'll do this
Okay.
one real quick.
So honoring yourself
first.
So go.
So this is actually kind of the basis behind Better Me, Better We, in that you honor yourself first, you take care of yourself. There is a dynamic that only you understand of when you need time apart, when you need time to recharge, when you need to enforce boundaries. And so with that, it's honoring yourself and honoring yourself first so that you can be the best that you can be when it comes to interpersonal relationships. True.
And also I feel that there's more to it. So when you honor, you can only overflow so much if you come from a place of depletion. And so you have to fill yourself up so that there is more of you to give, so that you can overflow and come from a place of joy and happiness, and serve from a state of fullness rather than a state of like, oh my gosh, there's just one more thing. And also knowing yourself first. So know thyself and the true essence of who you are. If we can bring you back home to that, like, again, life is magic. There's synchronicity. There's beauty in the way you look at life, in the way you behave in life, in the flow of your life. So we want to definitely bring you home to that.
And it's as simple as honoring yourself is as simply as knowing what you need as a person. I personally need at least 4 days of working out a week to manage my stress levels. It doesn't mean that I need spa days or things like that, but there are.
He said spa days like they were a bad thing. They are not.
Spa days are not a bad thing. But what do you need? And it's finding out what you actually need to recharge your battery, so to say, to use that analogy that Lindalee had alluded to.
Yeah. And making sure, again, like you're able to know who you are and what your needs are, what your likes are, and then finding where your partner can help fulfill that. Like to just, I'm going to go into sex for just a moment, because what your needs are, if you're not feeling fulfilled sexually and you can't convey that to your partner, then there's going to be a disconnect in that forum, and there's so much freedom in saying, this is what I like, or I really don't like it when you do that. That does not make this body happy. Adverse effect. So, I mean, but there's all aspects of knowing thyself, and again, what feeds you, and how to show up for each other. So,
and with us, nothing is off limits. I mean, we are open books, and we'll share that with you in person, because we've been through a lot of stuff. We've actually delved into some really deep, touchy subjects with each other.
Well, we have. I mean, shoot, we've been married for 28 years. So.
Yeah, but again, I mean, there's a clear example, right? We've been married 28 years, and still we come across stuff that we've got to discuss.
Of course.
And obviously sex is one of them, but there are other things as well.
Right.
So we never stop. We never stop growing and evolving.
We hope we don't.
We hope we don't.
Because then we become stagnant.
So this is the third video, kind of summarizing what we're looking to do on this retreat. We'll get you more information out as time comes.
With the details of when it is, and the cost and everything. But if you have questions or you're interested and you want to pre-sign up for it, let us know. Sweet. And also just know too that the retreat is not the only thing that we are going to be offering. We will have a 6-month or a year-long course, maybe a 9-month course, that all of this will go into a little bit deeper, because it's a lot to take in a weekend, and really to change your life and embody things, you need more time and more support in order to start developing new habits, the new habits and the new ways, and revisiting the information, because you can get information overload, and we certainly don't want to do that to you. Right. So it will not go, so deep that you just can't even know, like, wait, what did we just, what? I don't even know anymore. Like, it's over. Like, if you ever go to like a castle or Ireland or Versailles or something, and you start seeing some of these things, pretty soon they all become like, oh, it's just another castle, or this just another magnificent room, or I don't know. Sensory overload. That's what we don't want to have happen to you. So, we'll be mindful of that. But just know that there's more. So we've got the retreat coming. We also have the coaching that will roll more information out about that. And then we also have a couple of courses that we've actually developed that actually should be up on our website relatively soon, theartofwe.com. The one's a relationship course, and the other one is a course on perspective, understanding the nuances of perspective. Right. So again, questions, comments, what you want to know more of, what you're curious about, or to pre-sign up, do it in the comments below. Thanks. Bye.